So for that, we'll need to write the code for this button. Let's go to the Visual Studio, and over here, if we just check customer.component.html file, over here on the HTML file, this is the delete button that we want to add the functionality to. But we don't directly want to just delete the data, because what if the user has mistakenly clicked on the delete button, right? So we want the user to confirm if they are sure to delete that particular record. For that, what we'll do is we are giving a function open. This is not going to be customer but confirm dialog, that the user should confirm if they are ready to delete this data, and have this function created in the TS file as well. Now what this function would do is it would open the model, and that is going to be dialog component. So I hope you all remember that we have already used the dialog component in the inventory component as well, and it would just open it. First of all, we are just trying to open it, okay, and then we'll see what happens. Save it here, and here also we'll go to the browser, and now let me just click on delete button. So we see that we have successfully opened the confirmation dialog box from this delete button. But what should happen? If I click on cancel, nothing should be deleted. So that is working perfectly fine, because we have already written the functionality for the cancel button earlier. But when we are clicking on OK, then the record should be deleted, right? So that is the pending portion over here, that we are going to write the functionality for deleting the record of the customer when we click on OK. And how do we accomplish that? When we were clicking on OK, we were sending the event as confirm from the dialog box. So that is what we would accept on the customer component now, and then delete the record. Let's just go to our solution over here on the Visual Studio Code, and over here we can see that we are sending a confirm event from the dialog box, and in case we click on cancel, at that time what is happening is it is simply closing the dialog box. So in the event that the user clicks on cancel, nothing would happen. But when the user click on OK, at that time the confirm function is getting called, and we are sending the event as confirm. So that is what we would accept over here also. We can take the help of inventory component right now and just use that code over here. So what I want to do is I just want to have the result now of the dialog box in the customer component. If I'm opening the dialog box, we are taking the result, and then we will be deleting the customer. This is what we are going to do. So let me just have a function created for it. Delete customer details, and this is the function that we want to call when we are receiving the event as confirm. So only if the user has confirmed, then we are deleting the record. Now let's just give the functionality for deleting the record, which is the URL that we are going to take over here. That would be from the browser itself. Over here you can see that we have this URL, and this is the one that we'll be putting over here. Now for the delete functionality, we have already made sure that a check would be passed for the where clause, and that would be customer ID. So this is what we require over here in this function to be passed to the delete method of the HTTP client. But how do we get that particular customer ID? That would be passed from the HTML. This is the customer ID, and this needs to be passed to the function that we are trying to call from the TS file. So we accept it over here, and then can simply pass it to this function. We just save here also. After this, we need to pass this customer ID with this URL. For that, we'll be just using HTTP client, call the delete method, pass the API URL with customer ID, and we are subscribing to the method. So after saving the changes, we'll just go to the browser, and if I click on delete, it says, are you sure you want to delete the record? I can cancel it, so nothing is happening. Now if I just click on OK on this confirm box, currently also nothing is happening. But if I just check over here in the DB, has the record been deleted? So yes, the record is deleted successfully, but on the UI, we are not able to see it. Why is that? Because we have not refreshed the table after deleting the record from here. So for that, what we'll do is, in the Visual Studio Code, when we have subscribed, right? When we are getting the result from the delete API, at that particular point, what we want to do is just call get customer details method. Now I'll save it. We'll go to the browser again, and I just add some random values over here because I want to delete this random data. Click on add, and now I want to delete it. So I click on OK, and you see that the table is getting refreshed. So the delete functionality is working perfectly, because after we have deleted the record, we are refreshing the table as well. And that is all happening by just passing the customer ID from the HTML page. So I hope all of you have understood the delete functionality that we have covered till now. After this, what we'll be doing is we'll be working on the edit functionality. But before proceeding on it, we have to make a minor change over here. You see that on the table that we are seeing on the UI, the registration date is having the time also. That is because we had kept the variable as date time in the .NET Web API. So for that, we'll be making the changes. Over here, we need to change it to string. So let me just make the registration date as string, and then this could be convert.toString. We'll save the changes, and in the store procedure, when we are fetching the details, we need to make sure that string is being fetched from the table. So this is a conversion technique that I am explaining to you, and this is very helpful when we are working on the store procedures, because generally you would have data in your table in some format, but you need to get it in some other format. So for that, we can cast the data. Now just to fetch the column names, I am selecting the table and doing Alt F1 on the keyboard. This gives me the data definition for the table. We can take the column names from here, and what I want is add a comma. Now for the registration date, as varchar, yeah, and we can keep it 12 as of now, and the column name can be registration date only. So why I have to mention all of the columns separately? Because I want to perform a cast on a particular column. So if we are just putting a star with the select keyword, we'll not be able to put cast function on a selected column. For that, we have to mention the column name separately over here. Now we are altering the procedure. I click on execute, and it says commands completed successfully. To verify that our changes are working perfectly fine, we can just execute this store procedure in the database. So now this is giving me records over here in the same format that the table is there, but this would be now varchar. So what we can do is just go to the solution and run it once. And now that it is running over here in the get method, you can just try it out. I click on execute and you are able to see that the registration date that we are fetching now from the table, it is not having a time associated with it. Otherwise, it had assigned a default time in the .NET code. So now we'll go to the browser and just refresh the page over here. So you see that the registration date is coming without the time. So this is what we were intending to do and we have achieved it. Now after this, we can move on to the edit functionality as well.